Hello, can you hear me? Guys, are you there? Just 5 more minutes and then we're good to go. Are you there, guys? Did I? Okay, they're back. Okay, hello, hello, hello. Okay. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes, because people are still coming in. So, uh, yay, yay. Okay, great, great, great. Okay, there you go. Yay. Okay. I wish I could see you guys. I couldn't see you right now, but then again, you can hear me. So I hope that everyone's doing great. Yes, 7:10. 7:10 is perfect. 7:10 p.m. Patience is a virtue. Ah, okay, just a few more minutes and then we start. Okay, you can grab your popcorn first or have coffee. Look at my coffee cup. Showing you my favorite unicorn coffee cup. Yay. Okay, okay, okay. So how many of you are heartbroken? Wow. Hello. So let's just wait. Okay, a few more minutes. Okay. So how many of you guys can relate to the topic? Okay. 2 more minutes. Of course, it's all about authenticity again. So, just be honest, guys. There's nothing wrong with being heartbroken, whether it's a lost relationship with your special someone, whether it's with your friends or, family. It happens. Okay, so there's nothing wrong uh, to be aware and to be accepting about it. So right now, I just want you to reflect in your space and know that this is a safe space because I can't even see you, so it wouldn't go anywhere. So just type there, and I would be able to read them later. I am so loving this new technology, though. It's my first time using Webinar Jam, and it's quite interesting. But I do hope that I get to see you guys someday. Okay. Yay. Okay, 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 okay. People, people, people. 1 more minute and then we start. Promise. Okay? Yay. Ah, okay. And hold on, guys. Don't worry. It would be how do I call it? A light talk, so to speak. So, and if you have your pen and paper with you, it would be very nice because if you want to answer some of the questions, since you know that I'm a coach, then it may help you process and your thoughts thereafter. Okay? So, pen and paper, it would be nice again, but that would be on the latter part. I'd tell my story first. And yes, based on actual experience, guys. So you better stay tuned. Okay, 7:10. I'm keeping my promise. So again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this webinar sponsored by the Third Eye Wellness. Thank you for having me. My name is Coach Mike Celis. Okay, and I'd like to formally, welcome everyone, and I hope that whatever space you're in right now, you are able to enjoy the talk to the fullest and hopefully learn from it. And know that you watching right now, it's meant to be. So let's see how it resonates with you. Okay. Okay. Let me start off with this. Who loves Disney films? I do. I really do. Like up to this point in my life, wherein I'm turning 40 in a few months' time, I totally, totally, totally grew up watching Disney films. Okay. What's your favorite? To name a few, I loved The Little Mermaid, I loved Aladdin, I loved Hercules. Personal favorite was The Lion King also and Tangled. Okay, for her long hair, long hair can do wonders for you. But then again, I love it. I love the way Disney made us feel and made us believe in magic. They gave us, the films, I mean, hope, our concept of love, our concept of our very own happily ever after. Who among you guys, coming from honesty, cried when, the main character and the prince finally met and kissed? Who among you guys sang the theme songs of each of the Disney films with all their heart? Who among you guys celebrated with these characters? I did. However, much like any other story, there's a huge plot twist. Same goes with our lives. Suddenly, our perceived happily ever after changes. People in our space change. The feelings that we have change with them. And the person, the people that used to be closest to our hearts suddenly seemed like villains. I'm talking about family members, friends, even your special someone whom you thought you could spend the rest of your life with. We all experience heartbreaks, and I am one with you on this. Whether it's a heartbreak from a family member who left us, whether temporarily or permanently, whether it's a heartbreak from friends who betrayed us, whether it's a heartbreak from your special someone, for reasons you may know or for reasons you may not know until now. I'd like to share with you my story. And yes, that was me 4.5 years ago with my ex-boyfriend. I used to think I had my happily ever after. You know that feeling wherein we had that meet cute moment wherein I met this gorgeous guy in a bookstore, seriously, at SM North EDSA, while we were both scanning the aisles for books. My eyes caught his, and we stared at each other. Me with my very, 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 very bad eyesight, with 250 grades per each eye, thought that I was actually, in front of someone I knew. Or maybe it was just me hoping that I knew that person because he was really cute. But then again, whatever the reason may be, I remember staring at the person and he was staring at me back. And that was such a beautiful moment. So we circled around each other, still staring at each other until I finally had to go because the book I wanted was not there. So I slowly walked outside of National Bookstore, but deep inside my heart, I was hoping that maybe, just maybe, he would follow. So I took a quick glance and thank you heavens, he was right behind me. Thank you, parents, for the good genes. No, kidding aside. He's right behind me. But I got scared because the guy was really manly, was really good looking, and I thought that, you cannot trust anyone. Not on the first date, not on, we haven't even met yet, for goodness sake. And I kept walking, but then he caught up with me and asked me verbatim, "Hey, nakita mo ba yung book na hinahanap mo?" Me, gawking. Like, okay, you know when you really like someone and you're suddenly lost for words? I was in that moment. So I'm like, no. And my voice was really, really, really small. Like really small, squeaky. Okay. I wanted to hit myself so badly, but it just came out like no. And then asked me, punta tayo dun sa kabilang bookstore. So I'm like, okay. And I was like, internally, I was already thinking, what is this? What does this guy want? So I was, I had my walls up and all, but then he was like just talking and being comfortable. And then finally, he asked my name and stopped me and shook hands with me. And for the first time, because he had no mask on, because gone, before there was no COVID yet. And in his eyes, I saw immediately and prayed silently that, Lord, sana siya na. Okay? So I had that moment. So kidding aside, we went to the other bookstore. We we never found the books that we were looking for, but we found each other. We found each other enough for us to actually go out for snacks, exchange numbers, go out again the next day, and 3.5 years later, I thought I had a perfect relationship. We only fought 4 times in 3.5 years with the silliest of all reasons. Our fights never lasted for more than 3 hours. He was very much welcoming of my love for unicorns, obviously, in this pic and with my own mug. Despite the fact that he was really discreet and was hiding in the closet. Did I mind? At first, I didn't. But then I realized that all those times when we were together, when I thought I was living my happily ever after because I had a very supportive partner, we didn't argue, we had the best of times, my friends liked him, my family loved him, but it was all one sided. Because he was in the closet, he could not introduce me to his family, who was very conservative because he's Chinese. But I just shrugged those off simply because thinking that during that time I was getting the love that I deserved. But it was during that time when I was beginning my coaching journey that I slowly realized, as I was breaking new grounds, as I was growing into the coach I meant to be, as I was slowly venturing into media, into hosting, into book writing, and getting myself out there, the same person who promised me that he would stay was the same person who told me right before we celebrated our 3 years and seventh month together that he could no longer support me because he could not defend me to his family, who was already wondering why he was included in some of the shows I've guested in some of the articles that were written about me. But during that time, guys, I had to choose to be able to help others or to stay with my happily ever after. But what made me make that difficult decision was that he said it first. He couldn't fight for me. My Prince Charming couldn't fight for me, and he had to let me go. And that time, I told myself, if he was really my happily ever after, then he would choose me over and over again, regardless of what I become in the process. It was a very difficult breakup for me. It was really painful. I remember that fateful day at 4 p.m. inside my room at, in my house. We were talking about it, and I was looking at the beautiful face of the person I've spent 3.5 years with, looking at his eyes as he was crying, my tears matching his. The person who seemed so dear, the person whom I've shared 3.5 years with, one of my longest relationships, but definitely one of the best I've had, seemed like a total stranger. And that time, after an hour and a half, we decided to part ways, and I was left by myself. Waking up the next day was really difficult. I wasn't used to waking up, hugging my pillow because I was used someone with someone cuddling me. I wasn't used to waking up, looking at my phone, and not reading his good morning message that he was on his way to work. I wasn't used to going about my whole day without being reminded that lunch was coming up, and at the end of the day, having someone ask me how my day was. I was dying inside. I felt so lost. I felt so sad and so alone for the first time in my life. I asked a lot of questions to myself. Was I not worth it? Did I do anything wrong? Should have I fought for it? Should have I given my all? Does he have someone else? Did I choose the right thing? All those questions. But more than the questions was what pained me with the entire experience was during the first few days, I kept on blaming myself. I was telling myself that, hey, maybe you're not a good partner. Hey, maybe you're selfish. Hey, maybe he hated the way that uh, you were evolving. Hey, maybe you're too much for him. And I was formulating all these assumptions in my head, justifying each one as if they were true. That what that is what happens when you're alone and when you're really sad. You're trying to justify everything. And I was in that space. The emotions were overwhelming. I spent the next 20 days crying nonstop. Every time, I remember during the time, it was almost Holy Week, and my family and I flew to Taiwan. You might say that, wow, that's the perfect diversion from a breakup. But then again, guys, I had one of the worst experiences. You know, when the universe plays its trick on you, it does it like 100%, hits the spot, honey. So while we were buying souvenirs, I was handed a hot cup of what I thought was coffee by the seller. Excitedly, because I love coffee so much, I took a drink, and lo and behold, it was milk tea. Milk tea, which we used to drink every single day of our lives for the last 3.5 years with the exclusion when none was available. Every single day that my taste buds would scream for his name every time I took milk. I cried inside the store and almost hysterically, I called out the seller, why did you give it to me? And my mom was like, oh, what happened to you? She was really surprised because I was freaking out. I was crying. I was breaking down in front of everyone. I didn't care anymore. because it hurt so bad because I couldn't contain my emotions anymore. I was only human. I wasn't the coach that I am now back then. I cried and cried. I felt guilt, anger, sadness, shame, you name it, all the emotions that I've been avoiding ever since, they all came rushing in with just one sip of that hot milk tea. And yes, I haven't forgiven yet the sales lady who did that to me, if you would ask. But kidding aside, during that entire time that I was actually trying to cry my heart out to heal, I forgot a lot of things. I refused to take a bath, but, but for the record, I did. Okay. I refused to, but I did take baths during that time. Okay. I refused to eat. I refused to go out. And I had in mind was that I just want to be alone. I totally forgot about myself because for the last 3.5 years, it was all about us. It was never about me. And one thing that I've forgotten also was that I could actually start all over again. Because that time, starting over again was not an option. I was basically in a space that I just want to be here. I just want to stay here. It hurts. However, for you guys who might be in that space right now, I want you to know that healing is a choice. Because after 20 days, on the 20th day, when I went to the chapel to pray and ask, you know, dear best friend Jesus, kindly allow me to heal because it's been 20 days, my exact prayer, honey. So I ended up feeling peaceful, went to my car, switched on the radio, and bam, rain fell. Song on the radio was Versace on the floor. The last song my ex sang to me, honey. I'm like, Lord, you better know what you're doing right now. It happened. But that made me choose myself. That made me realize after crying, as I let my tears fell together with the rain, that it's time for me to move on now. It's time for me to heal. And I could only heal by empowering myself from within, by allowing myself to come from a space of what it really is true to me. My own hashtag best me ever. So I'd like to share with you guys these 7 self-empowerment questions that would help you reflect and hopefully recover. If you've lost a relationship, whether it's with your family, your loved ones, your friends, just try to reflect. If you have your pens and papers ready now, you may want to answer them with me. The first question I asked myself was, as a coach, of course, for those of you who may not be aware of coaching, it's all about asking powerful questions. So this really is a method that I use. What is true about my current space? First things first, it's all about acceptance. So I had to do away with assumptions. I had to do away with those which are not grounded on facts and just focus on what is real here and now. What is real here and now is that we have broken up. What is real here and now is that I am alone. What is real here and now is that I am hurting. Remember, you cannot move on and forward from something that you haven't fully accepted. So no matter how painful it is, the first thing to do is accept it. And trust me, you can. The next question I asked myself was, how do I feel? Have I acknowledged my feelings? I remember facing the mirror and asking myself, galit ka? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you guilty? Are you ashamed? And that one time, after the 20th day of crying, I came face to face with myself. And for the first time after the relationship, I became really honest and allowed myself to cry even more. Allowed myself to be angry. I remember throwing things. I remember writing so hard that my journal were torn to pieces. But what I remembered too was that everything was so real. And it was those feelings that I was refusing to acknowledge that everything of them, all of them, were holding me back because I did not let them out. And when I finally did, I have come into terms with what really is my space at present is. After regaining my composure, I began asking myself, what lesson must I learn from this? What is it teaching me? Is it teaching me to love myself more because I've forgotten myself in the process? Is it teaching me to acknowledge my needs because it has always been about us and not about just me? Is it teaching me that sometimes I have to make sacrifices if I want to help more people? Because it's not just about me, it's also about how I could matter in the lives of others as a coach. I wrote down all those lessons, and if I remembered correctly, I wrote down 35. I don't want to bore with you with all the 35 lessons that I've learned, but one of the funny ones was like, never ever attend cooking class just because your ex-boyfriend is a chef. Oh my God, I went to Thailand, took Thai cooking class with experts, and yours truly didn't even know how to chop that fast. And my classmates were laughing at me, but I was doing it out of love. And so I just made it through with the rest of the class helping me. Never again. Okay. Next. After learning all those lessons, ask yourself this. What is under your control? Overthinking and anxiety and being sad comes from all the things that we cannot control. You cannot control the emotions of the other people involved, of the people who left you. You cannot bring back the time and undo the circumstance because it already happened. What is it in your current space that you can control? And I asked myself this question. I told myself, I can control how I feel. I can control what I can do next. I can control myself to make that choice to finally move on and forward because those decisions were solely left to me and not on anyone else's. After knowing what you can control, ask yourself this: what's my next chapter going to look like? It was very clear to me that no, I won't fall in love again anytime soon. I want to focus on myself. I want to prove to myself that I made the right decision by practicing my craft, helping a lot more people, inspiring them to move on and forward from whatever broke them. That's what my next chapter would look like. But you know what? With regards to this question, I did not even plan long term. I took it on a month on month basis simply because I did not want to rush my healing. I wanted to take my time. I wanted to let myself be. I wanted to come from a space of authenticity. And so I did. In the next 3.5 months, I stayed quiet. I focused on my healing. And finally, after 3.5 months, because they told me before, 1 month for every year of togetherness. So we spent 3.5 years together. So I spent 1 month each, just grieving, fixing myself, allowing myself to feel and reflect. But after that, after I posted my new picture of the new version of myself, it took another 2 years and 9 months uh-huh, to really rebuild myself from scratch. And guess what? It was all worth it. Because my next chapter entails me to be whole. It's very beautiful that when you have a clear picture of how you want your next chapter to be, to ask yourself this: who can genuinely support you in your journey? Take away those people, honey. Don't even, depend on them. It's all about coming from a space of truth. Who do you need in your life right now? Who are these people whom you can count on? Who are the 5 people in your life that when you give them a call, they would be there for you, who would help you, who would not judge you, who would help create beautiful new memories with you. And please take note, after a broken relationship, the solution is never jumping into another one immediately. It's all about giving yourself time to heal, to reflect, to just be, while you are supported by people who are dear to you. And lastly, having my support system, I counted on my mom, my auntie, my closest friends, the people who believed in me, including the readers of my books, the listeners of my program, um, random people who send me gratitude messages because they just appreciate what I do as I post every single day inspirational quotes and reflections. They inspired me and they helped me move on and forward. They were my consideration when I asked myself this question: what can I do immediately now? It's all about acting while, as they say, striking while the iron is hot. Act on it now. Don't let yourself wallow in sadness too long. Give yourself a deadline. For me, when I answered this question, I told myself, what can I do here and now? Unfollow him first. Because every time I see him, even if we remain Facebook friends, it would still hurt. And it hurt until the last 3 years. hmm And I'm being honest, I took that long to heal. And given the pandemic, it wasn't easy. Don't get me wrong, I was dating in between. But then again, it was all about being sure. It was all about, coming from a space of honesty. What do I need to do? What needs to happen? And how do I really feel? And me, by unfollowing him, I finally followed my heart thereafter. Healing takes time. It took me 3 years to do so. And a whole lot of self love. It was all about rebuilding the most important relationship I've ever had, but was never given a chance to focus on myself. It was all about loving myself once more. So for you guys watching right now, I'd like you to ask yourself this question. How are you now? With all the relationships that you've lost, whether it's with your family, with your friends, with your special someone, how are you feeling? What is within? Have you allowed yourself to accept that space? Have you allowed yourself to feel the emotions that you needed to feel, to learn, the lessons that you needed to learn, to make that choice, to start all over again? Whatever space you're in right now, know that it's okay. I'm here with you, and I've been there. And guess what? You would still have your own happily ever after. Still believe in Disney. Still believe in love. Still believe in yourself. Because the moment you love yourself is the moment you start all over again. Because after 3 years, my heart is whole and I'm starting all over again. Someone came into my life recently that made me believe that my happily ever after is just around the corner. I waited 3 years for this, and I would do it over again because it's worth it. Simply because, much like you're on your way to become your own hashtag best me ever. I've just shown you mine, and thank you for having me tonight in this webinar. I do hope that you learned a thing or two. If you have any questions, kindly ask me on the side. And while you're there, you can visit my website, www.coachmikecelis.com, and get a copy of my book, whether on Amazon or National Bookstore here locally. You can also check out my coaching program that's mainstream or my specialized programs on my website. And finally, if you want your daily dose of happy, positive reflections and powerful questions, kindly join my self-empowerment community on Facebook. Uh, Best Me Ever Self-Empowerment Community. Thank you very much tonight. Love you all.